Welcome back to the Gruber Morning Show. I'm Pete Gruber,
I'm Mark Schaffner. Good morning and welcome.
and we have a special guest with us today from the other side of the world, Rafael de Mestre. And are you there, Rafael?
Yes, hello.
Okay. Um, so the reason that Rafael is on our show is, well, a number of reasons. His car is here, and his Tesla Roadster was the first Tesla Roadster that circumnavigated the globe. No one's done it since then. And I thought this might be a good segue where we can introduce Raphael and have him begin to talk about this trip around the world and what it's all about.
Yes, hi. Thank you for supporting me and for helping the Roadster getting back on track. 2012, I was a little bit upset about all people saying that this is a toy, this has no future. Electric cars are just a concept which is not working. No range, no charging speed, everything we know. They said that even my mother and people which were very near me were just saying, no, you're crazy, you're in your midlife crisis, buying a car or whatever. I say, no, this is a solution. It's so obvious. It was so obvious for me.
Mm-hmm.
And then I said, okay, I will just you can talk a lot. I grown up in Germany. Germans are talking and talking and talking, and I'm more someone who doesn't like to talk, just to show, to act. And I just said, how can I impress the people that they believe? Then I said, well, I will make a long trip. And then they said, yeah, you can make a long trip, maybe from Frankfurt to Munich. And say, no, that's not long, real long. Yeah, maybe you can go to Norway. And said, no, even to Bucharest. Bucharest? No, this is a little bit too far. I said, no, Bucharest is just halfway or part of the way, the whole world. And they say, no, this is impossible. And I felt a little bit like impossible. I thought, yeah, I know this story about 80 days of Phileas Fogg. He also said that it's possible to make in 80 days. And people said it's impossible and started to bet. And then I said, okay, let's bet.
Mm-hmm.
I can make it in 80 days. I said, no, maybe it's possible. So then they were not so, but most of the people were saying, no, it's not possible. And I'm not betting or whatever excuse. Yeah. And then I said, okay, I will go around the world and I will show you this is possible to go around the world. Where do you charge? You will not charge.
Exactly.
You will die.
Yes. Yeah.
Yes.
In the desert Gobi.
You know, this was 2012, before there were charging stations, before there were superchargers. In fact, I think the Model S just came out in 2012, and Tesla began to think about, we need to provide fuel stops for these electric vehicles, or we're not going to be able to sell them. So I think the reluctance that you encountered in Germany was probably valid, because it would have been difficult to charge, which is probably something else that everyone is curious about. How did you continue to charge your Tesla Roadsters? You were driving it around.
My argument was very simple. Wherever there is light burning, there you can charge your car. Mm-hmm. And then people will start thinking, yes, maybe you are right. And I say, think about billions of sockets in the world. How many more sockets do you have? And even go to a gas station where you say you have enough gas stations. Go to a gas station, you will find a socket there, right, for sure. Yeah. So you have all gas stations as charging stations for electric car, plus all hotels or restaurants or whatever houses. So I was pretty sure that it will not have any problem. But then people were saying there are houses which have no electricity and blah, 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 always making fear. Also, this is one of my message. Fear is the evil of the world. Fear is just, you see, Corona was only possible because of fear. So stop having fear. Stop doing things you don't want. Do the things you like. And fear is just blocking you. Fear is something from Stone Age. There it was maybe needed, but no fear. No, it's And well, making around the world, I take the fear from people. So after 2012, I just convinced a lot of people that it's possible. And then 2016, I said, okay, if you believe now in me, come with me.
Uh-huh.
And I convinced 10 other teams, even an electric bus, to come
Really?
with me.
Yeah. Excellent. So you must have carried a lot of charging adapters with you, different types of plugs, extension cords. Tell us a little bit about your challenges there.
This was my idea, and I thought also I will need a lot of plugs and all. And in China, I thought there were maybe things I don't know. But honestly, electricity is pretty easy. You have some phases, you have N, you have the ground, and the Tesla Roadster is even more easy because it's just one phase charger. So you have 3 cables.
Right.
So 3 cables to connect. And if you go to around the world, and this was one of the most interesting or maybe obvious experiences. If you go around the world and you show an electrician 3 cables and you say, I want to charge, then any kind of electrician, it doesn't matter. I don't speak Chinese, I don't speak Russian. I just show the cables and I show here blue, yellow. Everyone knows the colors. I say, yeah, give me. Then they took it and they put it in on the distribution panel. And I had my own red socket. So I just didn't need any adapter, any plug. I just gave this, I say, universal adapter, just 3 cables and a socket to an electrician, and he just put it into the distribution, and then I plugged in my car, and that was it. So I was equipped with several sockets like NEMA 1540, 1450, and so on.
Right.
But mostly I didn't need it. But I was excited on the NEMA 1450. It's like heaven for Tesla.
Quick charge.
RV parks.
Yeah, exactly.
Even if I came to New York and the people say, how will you cross East-West Coast? It's not possible. You can go on the East Coast. There are maybe some houses on the West Coast, but the rest in the middle, there is nothing.
Yeah.
There are maybe, and they say, well, there are RV parks. And I was excited that the RV parks have 50 amps. It's huge. So I experienced one time I was sleeping in and I had this OVMS, and the OVMS announced me it's charged full. And I said, shit, I want to sleep. This is too fast.
So they were actually able to hardwire you into the circuit breaker panels in most cases by just showing somebody knowledgeable about what kind of a plug or what kind of an outlet you needed.
And this red socket, it's kind of international standard. Every hotel has it in his kitchen. So it's really very convenient. You go to Russia, to China, whatever.
Right.
They have this red socket. So either they put my red socket on the distribution panel, or I could just put a prolongation cable to the kitchen.
Okay. All right. Now, the Roadsters...
And the kitchen is also very convenient because in the night when I'm charging, the kitchen is closed. So they don't use any power there. So I wasn't even not disturbing them.
Right. Oh, nice.
Did you find that people or these types of facilities that you were getting power from, were they generous and they would, or would they charge you at times? How did that work out for you?
Mostly they were so excited that they're like an extra direction car is, and they asked even, can this car fly?
2012, yeah, it was new.
2012,
yeah.
I was in China and one was looking at my nose and saying, does it hurt? So he never saw someone with a nose like this. They had all flat noses.
Right.
Oh, that's funny.
So you were a true ambassador for Tesla, spreading the word about electric vehicles. And when you're in China, did they ask to reverse engineer your car by chance?
There's also the people were saying exactly this. If you go to China, they will disassemble your car.
Right.
If you go to Russia, you will be shot by a machine gun from Russian mafia. And in Kazakhstan, everyone will steal you everything. So this was the stories. Again, fear, fear, fear.
Yeah.
No, nothing.
Stigmas.
In China, the car was stuck because of paperwork. They didn't know how to enter. Imagine 2012, they said, this car has no permit to drive on Chinese roads because it's an electric car. And I was honestly, this I didn't expect, because I knew Mark Webb Johnson in Hong Kong and all the Teslas driving in Hong Kong. And I said, okay, but Hong Kong and China in these days was 2 different continents.
Yeah.
So in China, there was no permit for a Tesla to drive on a road. So I had to get this permit thingies. So I made the homologation for Tesla. So because there was simply nothing.
Yeah.
And this was a little bit surprising, this border crossing problematics. But in the end, everyone was very, very helpful. I have to say, they were so excited about this new technology. And you charge now here? Yes. Yeah, it's obvious. You can go to a hotel, you get a charge. Go to a restaurant, you get a charge. But if you have a gas car, you get no gas at the hotel or somewhere. You get it on the gas station. So this is a different thinking. And then I think 2 or 3 times in total of the whole around the world, people ask me how much is it this? And I asked them, how much is your kilowatt hour? Then I can calculate.
Right.
And then they said, yeah, okay, in Andorra, they said my kilowatt hour is 2 cents. I'd say, okay, €1.50, it's like $1 something. I will pay for you for fully charged. I'd say, come on.
And they gave it to
nothing.
You. Yeah.
So most of the people didn't say anything, and they were so excited. And there was only one story where one said, Johan, I in France, imagine a cultivated.
Yeah.
So the worst country of the whole around the world was France, I have to say. There was no infrastructure, no French, no guide. They had a lot of fear.
Yeah.
If you go to somewhere in the world, you will find always plugs somewhere. In France, all plugs are closed.
Really?
So if you want to go to somewhere to plug into a plug, you have to ask him. So I went to fire troopers. I think fire troopers are helpful people. And I asked someone and see, what do you want to plug? Okay. And I found the red sockets. Yeah, just plug in. Let I show you. I plug in and look, it's charging. Okay. I will ask to my boss. And he went to the boss, and really first time in my life and ever this happened, that the boss said, plug off. I don't want you to charge here.
Yeah.
I said, what? I didn't understand.
Yeah.
It was amazing. Yeah. You go around the world, have some expectations of what could break. Maybe you will get a flat tire, or your battery will overheat, or whatever the people are saying. No, nothing. It's totally different things which happen.
So was there a time when you were driving this Roadster around that you got range anxiety because you were starting to get low on fuel, low on charge, and no options available? Tell us about that.
Well, I never had a range anxiety, I have to say. Even in the desert Gobi, I always was thinking, yeah, well, I will continue, and there will be somewhere a plug. And in Kazakhstan, for instance, I was just following the cables. And you have the street, and on the side, there are the cables, the high voltage cables.
Yeah, the power lines.
The power lines.
Yeah.
You follow the power line, and the power line someday goes down, and that there is a house, and where there is a house, then you can charge. So I was just looking, where is the next house? Okay, there is a house. Where a power line always ends to a building.
Yeah.
So just follow the power line. And because there are also gas cars, and gas cars doesn't have an limitless range. A gas car has also a limit of range. If you ever drove a Porsche 250 in Germany, you will experience a range of 200 kilometers. Then the gas is over.
Right.
So
Right.
no one is telling about this, but this is reality. So there are charge stations, I forgot the name, gas stations.
Right.
Every 200, 300 kilometers, you find a gas station, even in the Desert Gobi, because there are trucks. There are a lot of, and what you even find more, what is very interesting is, well, the infrastructure is normally built on the demand of the people. And the biggest demand of the people on Kazakhstan roads are flat tires. So you have tire repair shops every 50 kilometers.
Right.
And what does a tire repair shop have? Huge machines, electric machines to put the tires on. So they have always huge power lines,
Right.
30 amperes, 50 amps. So I was very easy just plugging in and starting to talk with the people. The people invited me to lunch. And after lunch, you're fully charged. So after talking, blah, 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 I was talking 5 hours sometimes with people and asking me people, why. And
Yeah. So the Tesla Roadsters are notorious for long charge times when you don't have the amperage. You know, obviously 30 to 50 amps is going to get you to the point where you're back on the road after chatting for a couple, 3, 4 hours or so. Those times that you had to charge and you didn't have the amperage available, what was the longest time that you remember that you had to wait for the Roadster to charge before you could drive it again?
You will be surprised. I never waited.
Really? Okay.
Wow.
Well, here in the U.S., we have 120 volts, and to charge a Roadster at 120, 15 amps is about 30 hours plus. So you must have found a lot of 240 or 208 or 230 volt type connections that would speed things up.
Yeah, the trick is hotels.
Hotels,
every hotel,
yeah.
Every hotel, and then the people say, in the Desert Gobi you will run out of, and then you will have no. What is in the Desert Gobi? Nobody's thinking is about a hotel in the Desert Gobi needs a huge amount of power. Imagine how hot it is, and the people are dying if they don't have AC.
Right.
So
Sure.
every room has 2 AC. So you have. I found a hotel which had 40,000 amp fuse.
Really?
And I said, what?
Wow.
So there is the hotels. So, and also what the message I want to transport is, if you travel with a gas car, you sleep at a hotel. So it's no change. You go with your gas car to the same places. The only thing is that when you put your car, you plug in. And if you charge your Tesla Roadster, I charged sometimes 10 hours, sometimes 12 hours. This was the most, but I was sleeping. So if you drive this much, you are tired. So I was sleeping 8, 9 hours. Then I was taking breakfast, and you always start to talk with people. And then you mostly I was looking at my OVMS and say, I have to go. Sorry, I have to go now. I cannot not continue, because it was also a race. There was another one who wanted to be the first one. It was kind of Mitsubishi IMIF, and I said, no, cannot be that the Mitsubishi IMIF will be first production car going around the world. I have to overtake him.
Right. So for our viewers, I wanted to clarify one thing. The OVMS feature that Rafael is talking about is Open Vehicle Management System. And in a Roadster, it's an aftermarket add-on that you can restore connection to the Roadster. The Roadsters originally had the ability to remote in for the service centers, and that was a 2G network, which is now dead and defunct. So Mark Webb Johnson, who Rafael also mentioned, his team developed a add-on aftermarket OVMS system for the Roadster. And a lot of people are adding that to their Tesla Roadsters. What this will now tell you is through your cell phone what the car is experiencing, how much charge it's receiving, when it's done charging, and a whole host of parameters that are so you can communicate with your car through the cell phone. So you found it that to be quite valuable, then, Rafael, with your Roadster.
Yes, super valuable. Having always sleeping with my smartphone and having this on loud. So in case, for instance, if there was a power outage or something, it may beep, and then you you don't lose time. Time was very precious for me. I had to overtake these guys, which started 3 months before me with a very slow car, this Mitsubishi i-MiEV, and I calculated that with my range of up to 400 kilometers, I could drive slow motion. In Kazakhstan, you even could not drive fast. So this was the advantage. So I did 400 kilometers, and Tesla said the range is 320. So it was other times where Tesla underestimated the range of their own cars. Yes, and I think this trip around the world convinced a lot of people to get an electric car. I convinced some people which are now YouTubers and convincing a lot of other people. So I try to convince people so that they convincing other people to buy electric cars. For me, an electric car is the solution not only for the city's pollution, for the world pollution. It's also technology pusher for technology for outer space. If you think about Elon Musk, what he's doing, all the things are one. So there is just one idea he has. It's the surviving of the human beings. That's everything he wants to. And if I'm from IT, and if you have a precious data, you have a backup server. Everyone has a backup server for precious data. Where is the backup for precious planet Earth?
Yes. Yeah. There is none. So, you're absolutely right. You know, you're a very well-known individual in the Tesla community. When you first came to us, we had a dead battery in that Roadster. And if you can tell us a little bit about that in a moment here. But so anyway, Rafael sent the car to us, and we don't make the Tesla replacement battery, the main battery pack. Tesla does, and they install it at their service centers. And normally there's a very long wait time. We're talking about 8 months, sometimes a couple of years. But as soon as we mentioned Rafael's name, they fast-tracked a replacement battery for him, and within 2 months, we had a battery for your car. So you now have another 80 kW battery pack to continue your adventures. So the other question I have for you is, this appears to have been a race the first time around. Tell us a little bit about that. You were actually racing against other cars, trying to meet a goal?
Yes. The idea was, well, first of all, I had this idea to go around the world. And then my lawyer contacted me and said, look, there are two which are already doing your idea. And then I just hold on for 1 second. And I said, well, that's not bad. That's good. That's even better for an electric car convincing project to make it more exciting. One guy is going around the world with an electric car, boring. No one is interested. But France is sending a team, and Spain is the other one. France and Spain are not so good friends. And we are competing. Who is the fastest one? This is something which is much more interesting. And I got also the feeling when I had problems, France people were posting Vive la France. So it was much more broadcasting around the world. And this was the idea, to make it more visible. So not just one guy is having fun. It's the message, the electric car. And if we have this Mitsubishi i-MiEV and the Tesla, then we have some fans of these ones, the other fans from the other ones. And then this competition is making excitement, and excitement is convincing. No one is going to to a football stadium or a baseball stadium to see the green grass, because it's so healthy to be outside. And to this, no one would convince. This is the thrill, the excitement, and I want to convince people with thrill and excitement, because I want to get the masses. I don't want to get the intellectual guys, which are always very nice to the nature and have to vegan or whatever, doing nice things. They will do it anyway, but I want to catch the masses. We have 10 years of electric cars. I'm driving 10 years. I go to New York and I try to find an electric car. And I need several minutes, gas car. Oh, one electric car. This is, and it was last year. So we are far away from being electrified, the whole world. We have to convince the masses, the guys, to say, look, you are not doing good for the world. This is not first priority. Your first priority, you have fun. Take an electric car and have more fun than you have now. And then they change.
So I'm curious, you mentioned that you grew up in Germany, right, Rafael? What part of Germany?
Cologne, Düsseldorf part.
Oh, Köln. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Köln. Yeah, that's how we pronounce it. I was born in Rosenheim, of course, but yeah, the reason I point that out is we have a diverse audience, and there are a lot of Europeans that join us. So it's always nice to reminisce where we're from. So Köln, and then you were born though in Spain, according to Wikipedia.
Yeah.
Tell us about that a bit.
Yeah, I've been born in Barcelona, near Barcelona, in Manresa, in the capital of Catalonia. I'm not separatist like the Catalan guys. I'm more globalist. I want to have a world without borders. All these problems at the border crossing are making me really sad that it's useless. It's simply useless. If you know Europe, where you just cross the border, I have a girl from Kazakhstan, and I said, now we're in Germany, now we're in Austria, what? I have to, she was taking the passport and said, no, it's just forget about it.
Yeah.
We are here in Europe. And why don't we have global Europe, global world?
A global world,
what?
Exactly. Yes.
Sure.
Yeah.
For what? I need a border. A border is something which is bordering and making a frontier between you and the other ones. So it is accelerating the wish for war, the wish to compete, the wish to there are others. And if you don't have a border, these are not others, these are all the same. We are Europeans. No one is thinking about Germany, blah, blah, blah. And why don't we make it the whole world? The only interest on the border are from 2-3 people which name presidents, which we should all not vote anymore. I don't need a president. I'm intelligent.
Right.
This idea of presidents is from Stone Age, where the people could not read and write. Now everyone can read and write, so everyone can decide themselves. The best example is Switzerland. The political system in Switzerland, the Swiss guys, the Swiss political guys are consultants. They are showing this is the solution. Please vote for the Swiss guys. They vote and they say, yes, I want to have military. I want to have more tax. I want to have less tax. And they just understand and they decide, and they're intelligent enough to decide themselves. So we don't need this hierarchical president, Bundeskanzler, whatever systems. I hope that someday our children just cancel this and make a borderless world. This will be good for everyone. Everyone said that Europe will crash because without borders in Europe, there will be the competition this way that the people will only buy Spanish tomatoes and whatever. No, every country has his very special things they know best, and they can sell this and export this, and there is no competition you see Chinese are always copying. They are never developing themselves new things. So every company they can copy. Maybe it's good to copy some things, and maybe it's good to develop somewhere else, and maybe it's good to eat Spanish tomatoes and whatever. So I don't see this idea of borders, and this is also one of my message. Go around the world, meet other people, meet Kazakh people. They are very kind. You don't know Kazakh people, you don't know Chinese people. Chinese people are very, very fearful. So the system there is leading, making a lot of fear. Therefore, the Chinese are not really doing what they want. It's again this fear thing. So if you just travel around the world and you meet other people and you get you get acquainted with them, you will not never shoot on them. And if you don't have fear for being killed, and you will not kill anyone. Soldiers are only killing other people because they have fear to kill themselves. So if you don't have fear to be killed, why should you kill someone else? So this end of killing, end of fear, end of borders, and I want just to drive around the world till I'm a bit dizzy to understand to the people understand that you don't need borders. You can use this electric car technology, which is all over the world. You can plug in all over the world. You can charge. I have to say the system between 2012 and 2016 was going on the wrong direction. So it was more difficult to charge in 2016 than in 2012 because of the charging stations. You think the charging stations are helping? No, they are not helping at all. If you have their other plugs which are not fitting anymore, then you need thousands of adapters. Now we are on a good way to get a standard, a national, international standard. CCS is coming, and I hope that someday everywhere you can have CCS then, or whatever. I don't know, one standard. Chinese are now again making something different, DBT or whatever. This is wrong direction. Why?
Yeah. We were reminiscing before the show, folks, and I'm from Europe as well, and we used to go back before the European Union, and the absurdity of driving distances similar to the United States.
Right.
Every state is like a country in Germany. Now you had to go through border crossing. You had to pull out your passport. They had to look at you sideways and say, what have you got in the back seat there? And then once you got into that other country, you had to exchange your currency because they used a different, currency, francs, Deutschmark, it just went on and on. The best thing for Europe was the European Union, and it begins to get us closer to stopping to think that these imaginary boundaries have any validity whatsoever. We're all human beings on this planet. And if we take this global perspective that Rafael is talking about, then a lot of these fears, the paranoia that you're talking about, and of course wars will eventually end too, because we really don't have any interest in taking something away from someone else. What's the point? Russia, does Russia need more land? They have the largest landmass on the globe, But here they are killing innocent people to get some more property. The absurdity is just staggering. We talk about this sort of thing all the time in our new AI podcast, which we do Sunday mornings at 10 o'clock. And for Jesse and I, it was just fun. It's our weekend. We're volunteering, but we want to come in and we want to push thinking in a different direction. This Sunday is going to be focused on why are these influential people like Elon Musk and Sam Altman claiming that this is dangerous without really giving us any concrete evidence of where the danger is. We need boundaries. Well, what are the boundaries? It looks to me like AI is exactly what we've been looking for. It finally is going to raise the average intelligence level of the human race. And we know that when we get smarter, we become more accommodating. We become less warlike.
Sure.
The fears begin to subside, Anyway, I just went on a podium here. This
No, maybe the danger is because then then you will realize that you don't need any president anymore. So
exactly, yes, yeah.
they could have fear, yes.
So you have some future goals with this around the world thing, and maybe you can tell us a bit about what the future goals are with this Roadster now.
So the future goal is not only to show that you can make it with an electric car, so that you can also make it with any kind of transport. So I already started. This is now also history, what we wrote before. The Roadster was defect. It was shipped then from Hamburg to you, but over the ocean with the sailing ship, so emission free. So I showed that you can also, even over water, you can go emission free. And I want to just to push also this idea that maybe in the end also airplanes can go emission free. And it's just a question of how much density you can make the battery, how much energy you can put in on a small space. Then you will be also be able for flying. And the good thing on this, everyone who's saying green, 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 for me, sustainability means business. If you don't have business behind, the sustainability will simply die for hunger. There are so many pioneers who spent all the money they had, and now you don't know anymore anything about them because they don't have money anymore. So it's not a sustainable thinking. You have to think about how to make money so that you can survive to promote again and again and again. And non-stop means you have to have money. You have to not to die for hunger. So if you think about air transport, the most crucial thing is the competence, the huge amount of airlines, and everyone wants to be cheaper. So imagine you are simply saving kerosene because you are using so you will be able, if you invest more in this technology in the air, to fly even cheaper you can imagine. Maybe for 10 cents or for $1 you can fly because it's costing nothing, just putting big batteries and solar panels, and this could be the future. And I know I was working as IT consultant for a lot of companies, Lufthansa and Airbus, that they are already developing on this because there is the demand of these cheap airlines to have airplanes which are using less kerosene. So the business is even pushing to save oil. So this is a good trend we should support.
Mm-hmm. Very true.
And when I'm thinking about the transport from, it was also interesting. The transport from Hamburg to Miami with a normal container ship was more expensive than with the sailing ship because the container ship is using the fuel which is super cheap and super dirty, but it was still more expensive than no fuel.
Mm-hmm.
It's so obvious.
Right. So how did you find a sailboat or a clipper ship that actually had an empty cargo on the way to the US, and then they were going to load up with what, coffee or something?
Yeah. Well, when I started to make this, I wanted to make it 100% emission free from the start. So I started already 2012 to search for emission frees, and then friends said, yeah, sailing ship and so on. And I went to exhibition searching for this, and I got in contact on one exhibition to the Sail Cargo Association, which was building ships. And I kept in contact with the guy from Brigantes and the guy from Tres Hombres, and there is a third one which is Aventur. And someday I was just talking with one of them who ran out of money. Brigantes needs now 2 or 3 million to be able to continue. So also, if there is an investor, welcome to help here, the Brigantes. he said, well, I'm run out of money. And my friend Cornelius, from Aventur, is just leaving to America. And I say, he's leaving to America? He's normally leaving to South America to pick. Yes, but he has a customer in Miami. I say, Miami? This was exactly where I wanted to go.
Mm-hmm.
And they just called Cornelius. Cornelius, your ship is going in 2 weeks? Yes. And you are going empty because you are taking, yeah. So I have some cargo for you. And he said, what? It's a car. And say, a car is not fitting into the small ship. And say, it's a Tesla Roadster. It's small.
Uh-huh.
And then he made some measurements and say, okay, this is fitting.
Wow.
So, and this
Amazing.
was a coincidence. So to talk. So it was, it's important to keep in contact with all the people, because now it's a lot of new development in everywhere. So in South America, they're also making now a sailing ship which shall go to direction China. They're also making a sailing ship now in France. They try to make, they see that this is a future where you can make business. Simply, it's $50,000, I think, one ship is using of petrol just for one way.
Right. So this Tesla Roadster VIN number 507 actually broke another record, because I believe this is the first EV that has ever crossed the ocean on a unmotorized clipper ship. Is that right?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. And
I think it was even the only car ever. I never saw a car on a sailing ship.
Yeah, interesting. So another record. And then, we really thought hard about this. Here you've got all this emission-free transportation. You went around the world once, then you went across the ocean emission-free, and now it's got to get from Miami to Phoenix. And we're thinking, how can we make this emission-free? And at that time, the Tesla semis were not yet released. But it would have been nice if they were, and we could have put this on a Tesla Semi and continued 100% emission-free transportation for this Roadster.
Yeah, exactly. And well, to make it like it is possible, I will drive back to Miami and then continue from there. So to say, okay, if I would have driven with a battery which was not defect, I
Right.
would have landed in Miami, and then I could have driven from there to north to New York and to Halifax.
Okay.
I'm going to Halifax. Everyone is saying, why Halifax? Nova Scotia.
Yeah.
Well, 2016 we drove there, and the reason we chose Canada is because exactly the border control in US is very, very difficult to cross. There are a lot of restrictions.
Yes.
And in Canada, it's much easier, and it's honestly, it's I don't understand. You have Canada and you have America, and you have one border, and this border between Canada and America, you can just cross. No one is controlling, really. And if you enter in Canada, you can cross through America without being controlled. But if you cross the American border, then you are controlled like hell.
Yeah.
So
tell us about it.
Someone did not think it.
No. we of course repair Roadsters all over North America. And the hardest thing to do is to try to get a Tesla Roadster that needs repair into the United States to our shop. We have one in Toronto right now. And there are all kinds of restrictions. For example, there was a car that sold in Canada and is now coming to the United States. Mark was involved in that. And it got so silly that they decided this car cannot come into the United States because the odometer is in kilometers. So the buyer said, well, I'll just ignore that and I'll just do some mental calculation. No, that's not acceptable. So what he ended up having to do was go down to Kinko's, a copy place, get a clear transfer letter, and stick that over the odometer so that it now says miles per hour. But, it's that kind of craziness. And again, this is an imaginary border. The land in the U.S. and Canada looks the same. Green grass, beautiful mountains, all of that. What is the purpose of this border? Have we ever been at war with the Canadians? Will we ever be? No. So why don't we have free trade zones like they do in Europe now and call it North American trade zone? But eventually it will come, I think. Just not this year.
Yeah, well, I went to Halifax because we planted a tree. So we are planting also trees everywhere. We wanted to have one tree per country.
Mm-hmm.
Also, nice anecdote, in Switzerland, we were not allowed to plant a tree. Say, what?
Yeah,
Switzerland, you are not allowed. Why? The argument is super silly. We have too many trees, they said.
Oh my gosh.
That 1 out of the billion or so that we have is really going to cause a problem for us.
Yeah.
Now we are getting back into the bureaucrats and regulations and the silliness of all of that. Mark was saying just before the podcast that in the United States, there are still states where Tesla cannot sell their cars directly to an owner or to an end user. Mm-hmm. And the original reason for that was the car dealers were selling cars that the manufacturers made, the big ones, Ford, GM, all the rest. And to protect themselves so that the manufacturers would never take their business away from them, they put laws on the books that prevented that from ever occurring so that they would always be protected and be involved in the income stream when someone bought a car.
Right.
Well, this worked until the end of the last century, and the information age came along, and the distance between a manufacturer and an end user shrunk dramatically. You can now go to Google and say, who makes this? It tells you. And now the manufacturers are getting inundated with calls from people wanting to buy their product directly. So they began to develop sales organizations to take control of the sales process. These parasitic elements like car dealers are no longer necessary or even wanted, because polls in the United States indicate that over 70% of the people would prefer to buy something directly from the manufacturer rather than a broker or somebody in between.
Yeah, and we're speculating now that, okay, if I live in, say, Louisiana, which has a law that was recently upheld against Tesla, then not allowing cars sales except for through a dealership. Okay, well, I'll get on my computer. I'll go on to a virtual private network that's based out of, say, Nebraska. Mm-hmm. And that virtual private network will allow me to go to Tesla and buy a car because I'm not in Louisiana. I'm in Nebraska now.
Right.
So technologically, it's so far ahead of where the lawmakers are at.
Yeah. Some absurdities in the United States.
Yeah, really absurd.
So, Rafael, you're going to be traveling back to Miami and then going up to Nova Scotia, right?
Yeah.
At some point, though, did you have something, Jesse? Well, I thought I heard somebody over there.
I think that was
okay.
Rafael.
Oh, I'm sorry, Rafael. So after you get to Nova Scotia, I understand that you're going to leave this North American continent again and go to other countries. Tell us about the next trip after the U.S.
After Nova Scotia, we will visit the tree. It's a maple tree, and we will take a probe to see the last 8 years or 7 years of pollution. And then we will go directly to San Diego, where there is the US tree. We have also one in US.
Okay.
And crossing from north down to south, but crossing the whole continent. And then from San Diego, we will go up over Los Angeles and Halifax and Hollywood to San Francisco, Palo Alto, visit for sure my friends in Tesla. And maybe I am lucky and some people have time to have a chat. Sometimes I was lucky. So 2012, I got even a surprise party by Josh Blankenship, this former CSO.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Wow.
It was amazing. So to show me the way of American parties. So it was really with confetti and really nice. Big signs, welcome, Rafael.
Yeah.
It's
Now, was this at Fremont or which Tesla facility was this?
yes.
Oh, in Fremont, the big one. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, it was nice. Yeah, and from there I will go to Seattle, and there I will visit the first ATE Days team from America who already subscribed, and he already paid the fee to start 2024.
Okay.
So I will bring him the merchandising things, and will make a small video and interview why he's joining and why he's doing this. I will also visit Alan Soul, who was participant of 2016, who is also in California region. And from Seattle, I will try to find a solution how to transport the car to China. So I'm trying not to get to the next team. Team China was in Guangzhou. It's near Hong Kong. And the transport is not clear. My dream is maybe not being able to come true this year, but in future is the dream to cross also the Pacific emission-free over the Bering Stretch. So going all the way up. But this is all military zone and very difficult to get the permit to drive through there.
Is it? Yeah.
So this is a plan which is also supported by my very good friend, Prince Albert from Monaco, who is always helping me in logistics and everything to support this project and to make it visible. And he is a very big friend. And I said, why are you so friend about this? And say, yeah, imagine you are putting solar carport chargers in the middle of the place where there is the biggest oil industry taking oil. So this is a good idea to cross the country with an electric car, which is even normally not crossed by gas cars because there are no charging stations so much, I heard. So this would be my dream someday to come true, but this time I think I will ship the car some, I don't know, container ship, or I will find out the way how to ship it to there. And then from China to Shanghai, then from Shanghai over Xi'an, Yiyang, all the cities which are not known, which are big million cities, skyscraper cities in the middle of nowhere, and crossing again the desert Gobi and the Taklamaran Gobi, which is not so much known, but much hotter, I have to say, 53 degrees Celsius. It's pretty hot. It's burning everything. And you have to take care about your tires not to melt. You go to the street and the concrete is sticking. It's
really
melting.
And for our viewers, 53 degrees Celsius is about 128 degrees Fahrenheit.
Amazing. Yeah.
So, here in Phoenix, we do get hot. We get to about, in Celsius, between 45 and 50 degrees, but that's about the hottest we've ever gotten.
Yeah. One time when they actually got to 122, they had to shut down our main airport in Arizona, Sky Harbor, because the instrumentation on the planes would not be able to read anything that high. So we were down for the day. Yeah. Amazing.
Yeah, so I will cross there also again in the summertime. In this case, everyone is saying, yeah, you are driving a Roadster, how nice, but on 50 degrees you close. Yes. Honestly, you close. This is too much. If you feel air which is 50 degrees coming to here, it's hotter. It's hotter than a sauna. So it's not like, it's not really, it's burning. It's not, you say, you don't want to breathe this.
What we have in the U.S. is we call it wind chill, when it's extremely cold outside and you're on a motorcycle and that air actually feels colder. In this case, it would be wind burn, because I've been on a motorcycle when it's 120 and it feels like a blast furnace and it actually burns your skin.
Well, and then in the Roadster, when it's that hot, how often does your Roadster air conditioning cut out because it needs to cool the battery?
Right. Yeah. Well, the battery is way more important than the occupant in a Tesla Roadster.
Yes,
you know?
that's true.
Yeah. By the way, your car
Yeah.
blows really nice cold air. They recharged it, and I've been enjoying it as I'm test driving because it's about 104 here right now.
Yeah.
And it blows nice and cold, but it's certainly not going to do that when it's 122 or 128 outside or 53C. So
Yeah.
if you get it back then to China, the first time you went around the world, did you go through any of those areas on the globe that are now caught up in war? Ukraine, for example. Yes. Okay.
I crossed Ukraine. I crossed Russia, and I crossed Ukraine. And even 2016, where the war already begun, I crossed again to show that it's not so dangerous, taking fear. But now it's impossible anymore. And I also don't want to promote that I can cross Russia. So I want just to avoid Russia. And this was the challenge for this time. How to avoid this country, which is covering the whole globe. So how you can avoid this?
Right.
Okay, you go to south, and then you find countries you also don't like: Iraq, Iran, Syria. And if I do it, okay, it's something different. But if I have a responsibility of 20 teams, of 10 teams, of 20 people, I don't take the risk. So then I have now, as I said, a girlfriend from Kazakhstan, and she said, no, there are other routes which are not known and not wanted by the Russian, and also not wanted by other political institutions. It's the connection between China and Europe without any Russia, and this is possible, and I will show it. This is also kind of nice message that you don't need Russia. You can make only Kazakhstan. And if you cross Kazakhstan until the end of Kazakhstan, you're almost on the finish of Russia. So Kazakhstan is also huge. And from there you cross the Caspian Sea, and there is a ferry which is which is very often. So they have a lot of communication between Azerbaijan and Kazakhstan. And after being in Kazakhstan, in Azerbaijan, which is also an unknown country, but it's a rich country, I can go to Georgia, and then I'm already in Turkey. So, and from Turkey to Europe, it's just nothing. So this is the way we will now do the route from Turkey. I will then go to Bulgaria. Then I'm already in Romania, where I have my IT company. And from there, I will just cross Europe, but a little bit going up and down and up and down and up and down to meet as many people and as many countries as possible.
I see. Okay. And then the final resting place for Roadster number 507, where will that be?
Well, I will finish the official Around the World tour in Hamburg, where it started, but I will continue because I'm planning to make the whole route of 2024, and this doesn't finish in Hamburg. It finished in Barcelona, and it goes even more south. So the idea is then in October, November, to go south to Barcelona, to visit my friends, to visit an exhibition, which is there always in October, and then going more south to visit even Africa, to Morocco, and to go to Casablanca, where 2024 the cars will be shipped to Miami. This is the idea.
Well, Rafael, you are an amazing visionary. It is a pleasure to have you on our show. What would you like to leave us and our audience with?
Well, as I already said, go and visit other cultures. Try the electric car fun it gives, the amazing, relaxing traveling. People are always saying, you will be tired, so many kilometers. No, with the gas car, yes, the gas car is vibrating. When I went from Germany to Spain, I had to sleep a lot because I was just dead. Electric cars are relaxing. You can cruise much longer ways. You can see also, I drove with my Model S 600,000 kilometers.
Really?
Wow.
And I was not really tired, so this is different. So go visit other countries, experience it with an electric car. You will experience much more intense the nature around you, and you will see that we don't need any border. This is something useless.
It's silly, yes.
Now, for those of you watching us today and who listen later to the podcast, you can find out more information about Rafael's 2024 trip at 80edays. That's 80edays.com. I read about the 11 teams that you have set up, Rafael, and I think it's going to be a fascinating thing to be able to watch these teams go along. I'm sure that as you're making the trip this next year, we will also have regular updates on our podcast for you.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And everyone who wants to join is invited to join, even if he says he cannot join the whole around the world. They even can join me now when I'm there next week. They can come to Arizona to visit Gruber, to visit me, to come with me to Miami, or to just from Miami to New York or whatever. And also 2024, you can join us just for a part of a trip to join the whole trip as you like. Enjoy driving electric
and become part of the movement. Well, I am looking forward to meeting you in person finally this weekend. And when are you flying in? Saturday night, you were saying?
Yes,
yeah.
I will land in the evening somewhere.
Okay. All right. Well, let's stay in touch then, and we can arrange something. And then, the team is really looking forward to meeting the person behind the car Monday. They've been working on your car now for months, actually. But yeah. Do we have any final questions or anything that need to be asked? I don't think
I do myself. There's a couple of comments here on our board that have come up. Suns18600 said hi to us on Instagram. Lightning Rod, one of our regular contributors, has chimed in, said, I voted for the Magic 8 Ball. The standard is such a big deal. I believe Mr. Putin is fueled by climate change. They've been preparing for over 3 decades, building giant armored ships with city-sized nuclear reactors. They're good for floating a new world order, possibly even in the Arctic. That's a possibility. There's a lot of weirdness going on up in Russia right now.
Instagram Patty 22 asks, which model is that we're talking about? This was a Tesla Roadster 2010, right, Rafael?
2011, the 2.5.
2011. Oh, the 2.5. Okay, and it is a it is a twilight blue, which is a darker blue. And if you go to our YouTube channel or to our website, you can see that both in the gallery section or in this podcast. We'll have some pictures as well. And then YouTube, Melt Miyamoto says, how was the language barrier managed? Yes, there's a question, a final question for you.
Good question.
Yeah.
Very good question. I don't speak Chinese. I don't speak Russian. Now I know 220 volt because this was something you always were hearing. It means 220 volt. So they were always asking, can I charge on 220 volt? And I always say, yes, very welcome. And where the communication was, I think, like the people in the Stone Age were communicating, where there was no language, just with hands and feet and painting. In Kazakhstan, it was very easy because it was very dusty. But the car was always full of dust. So you could paint on the dust and paint, you want to make this and this and this and charge, and you show the wires, charge, and then they say, what? You could see also on the faces, just reading faces, reading how the body language was, and you understood. I'm reminding one discussion, I have to say. I was 3 hours in China in a little town, they didn't speak any English. I didn't speak any Chinese, and I don't know how, but I know the name of the whole family. I know what they did, what they do in business, what they are doing, what they are having, what they like to eat, what they know me, they know what I did, and we didn't have a chance to even understand one word. But it was amazing how you can interchange information. No Google Translator this times, no nothing, just hands and feet, and it was possible on 3 hours to interchange the stories of the lifetimes. I knew the one was acting in a theater, and he had 2 children, and they liked to drink horse milk, and they
Yeah.
it was interesting.
So you were able to communicate even without knowing the language. But you know what? I suspect that someone like you, born in Spain, lived in Germany, and has a business in Romania, you're probably multilingual. How many languages do you speak?
Well, I'm saying if I'm speak something, I'm speaking like English, or hablo como español, or ich spreche wie Deutsch.
Yeah.
Very fluent. These are the 3 languages I speak, but I understand much more. So if you're speaking, let's say Netherlands or French or Italian or Romanian, I understand it because I just combine in my brain what could be this, and I can answer then in English, Spanish, or German.
Yeah.
So this is something you learn if you learn a lot of cultures. Even you don't speak the languages, there are some structures inside which are similar, so you understand. And there is one structure it's totally different. It's the Chinese way of thinking, of making words. So this is nothing we are thinking of. There are no letters. There one story. I asked them, what is this sign here? What is the meaning of this? And then they said, I don't know. And I say, why? You have to know this. And this is exactly typical China. In Germany, an A is an A.
Yes. Yeah.
And it's always an A. And in China, you have a sign, and they say, what is this sign? And say, depends. They say, it depends.
Yeah.
And then he explained me, well, it could be grandma. And I say, okay. Then I think maybe then it's something similar. But if you put it in a front, in the top of a door, then it's for sure toilet.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's what?
Yeah. Yeah. You know, I tell this story all the time. When I first came to the United States, I was amazed that they had what are called spelling tests. And the reason that it's difficult and you can't pass all the spelling tests is because they have so many different ways of pronouncing words, and sometimes consonants are silent, like knife is kniffe. There's a K in there, which you don't hear. So I would tell them, I would say, in Germany, we don't have this, because when you say the word, you say every single vowel and every single consonant, except if it's umlaut. So there are no spelling tests in Germany. It's pointless, you know, by the time they've said the word. Yeah, language is an interesting thing.
But in the end, these are all human beings, and it doesn't matter if they're speaking a language, which language. The language is also very interesting because it's reflecting the culture.
Yeah.
So the German language is very strict and doesn't allow any kind of errors. So if you just make a slightly error in a German, then you say, you're not from here.
Yeah. It has to be precise. Yes, precision is very important.
In Spanish, it's different. If you're South American, North American, you have a lot of different kind of pronunciations and even words. And you say, okay, this is Spanish. But there is only one correct German. There are always, and if you hear how you pronounce, you have to have the feeling of a German to pronounce it correct. So if you're Spanish, you will never be able to pronounce it correct. To be German, you have to have a military feeling in your body to speak it correctly. Then you have already tack, tack, tack. Then you also, and if I'm thinking and feeling German, then I start to make German errors in the pronunciation of English, because then I'm starting to make this this very typical German accent.
Uh-huh.
This is very, very, very hard. So it's funny. And if you change your feeling into Spanish, then you make other errors. Then you start to make these errors. They're Spanish. They're very relaxed. They have to always to have a vocal. Otherwise, they don't feel comfortable.
Yeah.
And this is the way they are speaking. So.
And then you have the
feeling.
Yeah, you have the Italian language where you have to put emotion into the words and you have to yell at certain times, and it all goes with it. So the precision isn't there, you know.
Yeah, and if you go to, I just repeat, if you go to the countries and you know these precious different ways of thinking, of feeling, it's amazing. Everyone has a different. The Français, they have a little bit like this, and everyone has his kind of feeling of, and everyone is individual, nice and kind, and it's very interesting to understand each other's cultures, and this world is simply super precious. If you go around the world, you are amazed. Your brain is blowing. That I spoke with Bertrand Picard, who also went around the world with a solar plane, and it's the same. Everyone who's going around the world is simply saying this planet we have to save. If you just experience all the facets, the nice, it's you cannot describe. Just go yourself and experience.
Well, it sounds like your trip was much more than just simply proving that an electric car could go around the world. It sounds like you have discovered humanity, you have discovered cultures, and you're beginning to, like the rest of us, understand that they're really the notion of separateness should not exist, and it really doesn't once you get down to the basic core with people. People are people, and we're all the same. It's been a real pleasure having you, Rafael. And again, it's going to be nice meeting you and reuniting you with your car.
Very much.
And if there are future podcasts that we can put together, we would love to stay in tune with your adventures and do this again at some point. Oh, and by the way, thank you so much. Your staff is absolutely wonderful. Christina, Sasha Ershova, I see her stuff on Facebook all the time. And it must be very hard for her, watching her country, Kiev and Ukraine, going through this horrible, horrible experience right now. But again, we look forward to meeting you, and thank you for joining us on this podcast.
Yes, thank you so much.
Thank you for giving me the audience.
We'll see you soon.